Today I'm going to show you how to install an operating system on a computer. This is Windows 7, um, Windows 7, well, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, uh, Windows 10. They're all very, very similar for the installation process. Basically, first you're going to want to boot off of some type of media, whether that's a CD or a USB drive or disk for your operating system, wherever that's located. That I'll probably make another video showing you how to create a USB or a CD, a bootable one containing your ISO for Windows. So first thing you're going to want to do, whether it's a USB or CD, you're going to plug it in, put the CD into your computer. Process is the same for if it's a desktop or a laptop. You're going to put it in, and you're going to turn the machine on, and you're going to want to, if it's a clean install or if it's a brand new hard drive, usually it will automatically boot off of the first device available. So let's say you put a new hard drive in, there's nothing on it, you have just your CD or your USB in it with Windows ISO on it, it will boot to it automatically most of the time. But let's say it doesn't, or let's say you have something on the hard drive, you're using it, and you want it to boot off that bootable disk, USB or CD, you're going to want to hit, as soon as you start turning the system on, you're going to want to hit on the keyboard, sometimes it's F2, F10, F11, F12, or delete. It's usually one of those function keys, or sometimes delete, to choose your boot option or boot menu. At that point, when you get that on your screen, you're going to want to select your device. If it's a CD, you're going to want to select the boot from CD or optical drive selection, or USB. Some systems, depending on the BIOS in the system, will show, let's say you have a Kingston USB in, it'll show Kingston Data Traveler, or sometimes I see with Windows 8 and Windows 10, it will show generic UDisk with the UEFI BIOS, or UEFI. But basically, once you do that, what you'll see here, I'm just running a virtual machine to do this on, where am I? We'll reset this. So when you select the option, you'll see Windows is loading files, and that's the sign that it is reading off of that device, whether it's CD or USB. And then you'll get this. Depending on the version of Windows you're installing, whether it's Vista 7, 8, or 10, you'll get something that's very similar. It will just be a little, I gotta delete that. It will be kind of a different design, or it will say what Windows version it is. So this is the first screen you'll see. You just want to select your language, any of that, time and whatnot. Hit next. You can ignore this down here for now. The only time you're ever going to be using this is if you're having issues, so let's hope you never have to click on that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, the different repair options that it gives you. But you're going to want to click Install Now. Setup's going to install. The overall process and speed of this, is going to be dependent on your hardware. USBs are going to be a little bit quicker than CDs if you're installing on an SSD versus a standard spinning drive. So this is just the licensing, blah, blah, blah. Read all that, very important. Accept it, hit next. This is where you get two options. If you were doing an upgrade from a working OS already, you could use this, but we don't want to use that for a clean install. A true clean install is going to be down here, custom. This will give you a list of all the hard drives that you have installed. If you are using a USB to install your operating system, you will see that in there, and you want to make sure you don't accidentally mess with that one. It actually shouldn't let you, if you were to try and do something, extend it, delete it, whatever. I would believe it gives you an error because it's an active disk, you're reading off of it. I've never actually done it, so I'm not 100% sure. But you're going to see a list of different drives. So this is the virtual drive I have created here. That's why it's only 25 gigs. Depending on what drive you have, it will give you the total size. If you have a drive that is brand new, you'll see unallocated space. You can, if you just want one standard partition, you want Windows to take care of the system reserve, all that, you don't have to worry about that. You just hit next and it will start installing on that selected disk. If you wanted to partition the drive, you can, specifically your own way, you can do that now by clicking on the drive you want and then clicking new and choosing a size. Type in here the size that you want, you hit apply, and it will go ahead and show you that you have disk 0, or whatever disk you have if you have multiples. So this is the same disk, but you have two different partitions. Well, you have one partition that was made 2 gigabytes in size, and then you have unallocated. So this is not large enough to install on, so you're not going to do anything with that. But you can partition as many times as you want, however you want. If you want, data here, OS here. I don't really recommend doing that on small drives. On a single drive, there's really no point. You definitely don't want to run into an issue having your OS partition too small. Then you start installing too many programs or updates, and you run out of room, and it causes trouble. So what I'm going to do here is, well, this is a good way now. Let's say this is not a new drive that is completely empty. Let's say this is one you're reusing. You'll probably have something similar to where you'll have a partition here, primary partition, which is where the OS is installed. You have like a system recovery, which is all what the OS does on its own. So what you want to do, if you don't need any information, let's say you have everything you need, this will delete everything, anything and everything on the drive. You're going to highlight the partition, and you're going to come down here to delete. It's going to confirm that you want to delete it. Everything on it is going to be removed. Hit OK. Pretty much delete everything until you get down to unallocated space, one drive that you're installing it on, and you're ready to go. If you just want Windows to handle the partitioning itself, you're going to just hit next. Sometimes you can get an issue where when you click on, when you come into this screen, you might get a pop-up saying that there's no drivers found and you won't see any hard drives. That's an issue that can sometimes happen. I've seen it happen if you're booting off a USB, trying to go up through a USB 3.0 on your system, and I've had luck taking it out, plugging it into a regular USB port. Now, I've actually had an issue on my custom build here where there are no regular USB ports. They're all 3.0, 3.1, and I could not boot off of a USB. So I ended up, I think what I did was I ended up using a CD the first time, and then I don't have a CD drive anymore. I just used it for that. There's some stupid workaround I had to do to actually use a USB on it, but you can sometimes run into those issues, and depending on the board and the USB ports on it, you got to try and find a way around it. If you have regular USB ports, use those. You're really not going to see any change in speed as far as just installing an operating system. But anyway, so let's say we want to do this. We're going to go ahead and just hit next, and then it's going to install. So it's going to copy all the files it needs from the USB or CD to the system. It's going to go ahead and extract them and install the operating system and all its features and programs. So this will go on, again, depending on the devices you're using to install and what you're installing on. I've seen them go, 5 minutes up to 20 minutes, depending on the speed of things. But we just let this sit, and I'll come back and let you know what we get after this. So, bye. Okay, and we're back. So once the install is done, you're going to be greeted with a setup window. So at this point, there's an operating system on your hard drive. You just have to set up your user account and basic settings. So here, you just put in your name. I'm just going to put user. If you have a specific computer name for some reason you want to put on, you can, or you can just leave it default like that. Hit next. If you want a password, you can put on a password. I'm not going to put one on for this. At this point, you can type in your product key being the license that allows you to legally use this software. you can choose to just hit skip for now, and that will allow you to get to a desktop. And I think Windows 7, it gives you 30 days to activate it before it starts really bugging you to type in that product key. So for now, I'm going to hit skip. This is for Windows updates, so you just do use recommended. Change your time zone. Here, Eastern time, date, and all that. Hit next. You can then choose the type of network you're on. If you were setting this up, let's say you're doing work for someone, you're setting this up in a coffee shop or a library, whatever. You do public. If you're in an office, you can do a work network, or if you're at home, you can just do a home network. If you're at home, you can do a work network if you want, depending on what type of setup you're doing. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and choose home network. There we go. And there you go. You have installed Windows. At this point, you're going to want to see if you need to install drivers. Usually you will, unless you're very lucky. So for that, you can go to Start menu, right-click on Computer, and go to Manage. If you're using Windows 7, basically we just want to get to Device Manager. So we'll wait for that to pop up. And we're going to go over here on the left down to Device Manager. And this will give you a list of all the different components that are detected by the computer. And usually you're going to see a few different things like this with the exclamation point saying that they're not installed. And you're going to want to go ahead and install them. That is going to be another video. If you have a CD that came with the system, you can go ahead and use that for drivers and utilities. If you don't, there are ways of finding out what you have, but by going in here and details, hardware, you can get the hardware ID, the vendor, the device, but I'll make another video on that, so that way you can learn more about how to install drivers and determine what's what. Like this here is generic base system device. What is that? Who makes that? We can find that out by going in the hardware IDs. So once everything's installed, run updates. Windows 7 is horrible with updates because there are so many of them. But that you click on Start and type Windows Update, update, and click on Check for updates, and it usually takes close to a full day of checking and then downloading and installing updates. It is absolutely horrible. But that's Windows 7. So, I mean, at this point, because I'm on my virtual machine, I already have drivers and networks. So I can go on the internet. I can open up whatever I want and start using the computer. But that's it. So, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to send them down below. Send me a message. You can connect with us on Facebook at JLL Computer Repair. Yeah, till next time. See how well this does. It's my first video, and going to be hopefully getting better at talking to a camera. Hopefully we get some interaction, and I'll feel like I'm actually talking to people instead of myself. But all right.